C'est quoi qu'on s'en va faire, mademoiselle? Hein?
Non, ça va faire un safari.
Mon Dieu, tu matches la couleur du truck en plus.
So at the moment we're travelling through St George. Let's say this is one of the middle parishes. We're going to be making our way northeast. I think she said there's 4 other Jeeps doing lunch with us today. So hopefully we might catch up with them sometime today. I think we're the last one to leave the office. Now this tour does include some off-road tracks, so it might be a little bumpy in places. If anybody's too uncomfortable at any time, please let me know. I can slow down. The boss always says, slow down, but anybody asks to go faster, don't do it, I'll fire you. Yeah, that's what he said. He goes back to the old days, he said. When me and my dad first started the company, he said, this was a scenic tour of Barbados, not a rough ride of the island. That's more aimed at the locals though, because when the locals used to come out, the locals say, oh, we know the island, we want a lot of off-roading, we want a lot of bumping around, a lot of milkshakes, a lot of roly-polies. Let's get a rough punch. That's what they wanted. So we used to get them a bit of shaking around and things like that, you see? And some would say, yeah, kill us, you know, roll over, all that nonsense. So the boss said he saw a video one day of some locals doing a tour, and he said they were having a lot of fun, but it's not what Islands of Fire Tour was all about. So he said, from now on, if I see anybody doing it, I'm going to fire you. That's what he said. Especially if you've got tourists on board, he said. I understand the locals are like a little pothole, and you can't avoid every pothole, but drive slow with the tourists. Don't go over 60 kilometers an hour on the road. So we gotta behave ourselves. Monkeys on the left! Where is it? Turn in the grass here, look, just down on the grass, going down the hill, by the fence, right there. You just run through a gap in the fence.
Left was this side.
If it's on the fence, otherwise I would have stopped there, you get a good picture. I see the trail through the grass, so that's probably a regular crossing for them. This land here on the right and the house behind us on the right is an old plantation house. It looks nice, in good condition. This fence off all the land here on the right. $200,000 they want for that.
Oh.
This area is called Rowlands. And the area to the right with the houses is Rowlands Park. Sometimes areas like this, when they decide to maybe sell their house, sometimes they get planning permission for more than one property on the land and just sometimes sell it as it is, or knock the house down and sell the land. They get more money for the land. With the planning permission. Or sometimes they actually build on the spot and sell each one individually. Example coming up here on the left, these houses with the blue roofs. There was one house in there for sale, and then the owner knocked it down and he's built 6 houses already.
Yeah.
And he's got more to build at the back, he said. Now imagine the land was up for sale for $1 million. But he's now selling each of the houses in there for $650,000. This here is called Flat Rock. St. George, Flat Rock. Little church here on the right, this is a green building. Got a lot of churches on the island. They said at least once every day of the year. But there's more rum shop bars than churches. Usually not too far from each other.
Oh, breadfruit.
If you look there on the left is a black belly sheep. Not a goat as you may think, it's a sheep.
Where is it? I don't.
The quickest way to tell the difference is a sheep has a long tail, goats have short tails.
Oh,
Now you may see the white woolly sheep got short tails, but that's because the farmers chop them when they're young. I don't know why they chop them, but they chop them. Now these guys are bred for their meat. Another one up here in the track.
oh, there's another one.
View behind us and to the right, we're looking down across the valley down to Sydney, Michael, and the capital, Bridgetown.
Oh, okay.
A couple of cruise ships in today. Now when you're on a safari, you probably expect to see the odd lion or two. If you're looking on the left side, you'll see a white lion.
Oh,
Up there on the hillside. It's called the British Military Lion.
oh.
Carved from a solid block of coral in the 1800s by Colonel Henry Wilkinson. The lion represents the British Empire, the ball, the whirl. There's an inscription below the lion in Latin that says, "We shall have dominion from sea to sea, from rivers to rivers, until the ends of the earth." Above it is Gun Hill Signal Station, one of 6 towers that were built to look out for enemy ships or any slave revolts. Today there's only 3 surviving, and they're looked after by the National Trust. Here's 2 of our Christmas plants on our right.
Oh,
The
breadfruit.
red leaf poinsettia. You can see that in England, a little pot for Christmas. And the one next to it with a white leaf is known as Snow on the Mountain. Both those plants change colour around November for Christmas. And then February, March time, the leaves drop off and grow back green for the rest of the year.
Je pensais que c'était des poinsettias.
se come.
Pas dans le bon sens. C'est là. Avec la maison.
Non, je sais, je prends le breadfruit.
Nazarene Church coming on the right. The rum shop bar next door to it. Up here, left and right, being cleared for houses to be built, put in roads. A lot of people tend to buy land and build their own houses on the station. You will find at least 10 different breeds of sugarcane. And you also find rows of male sugarcane and rows of female sugarcane. I don't know how you tell the difference, but they're there. I can show you the labels. And you might see 3 different colour sugarcane through here. Now if you don't believe me, if you got good eyesight, this yellow label on the left there, there's a big word on there. Can you see it? There you go, you see? And look at the colour of the stem. Now the colour of the stem doesn't indicate dark or stem cane. And here on the left, a more sort of a yellowish. Now you will actually see one that's more green than yellow as well. I don't know if you'll see any of them today, but that's what you'll see normally around. Now the farmers don't have to buy cuttings whenever they want to plant the field. All the land you see on the right, that's the sugarcane breeding station. All that field right up to the trees and in the distance. Now up in the trees there by that tower, there's a garden that grows orchids. It's called Orchid World. So if you like orchids, you can go there and you'll see hundreds of orchids of all different trees and colours growing there. So all this land here has already been ploughed up, ready to plant sugarcane, or it's already been planted. This field here on the left, they just dug up all the sweet potato in there. No doubt they'll probably come and plough it and rest it or replant. The trees on the left side and the palm trees, that is Fisher Pond Plantation house behind those trees. More sweet potato here on the left. And the second valleys we're in now. in St. George behind us. We're now in St. Joseph. The yellow bus behind us is what they call the reggae bus, because they used to play loud music years ago. Some of them still play music, some don't, but they have to turn off their music, I think, after 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock. So they used to make a loud racket. Now here on the right is Andrew's Great House. This plantation house was renovated about a year ago. So it shows you what they used to look like in their best condition. Yep, somebody throwing garbage out the bus window. That's very common down here. If you stop somebody and say, why did you throw that bag out the window or that bottle out the window of your car or a van or something like that, he'll say, well, the government pay people to clear it up, so they'll clear it up. But of course, it's not all going to get cleared up, is it? That's why you see lots of bags and things like that all over the place, blown across the island. They're trying to encourage them to be more conscious of being littering and things like that. But there's a certain generation that's growing up now that just rebel and do what they want. Now the thing is, when you dig up a length and you only find, say, 3 potatoes, does that mean you got to take the 3 potatoes in that length and you don't get no more? You think you'd be on You can get it carbonated in bottles, or you can get it in juice cartons, or somebody will make it fresh for you. I would suggest if you're going to try it for the first time, try it in the little juice cartons, because the carbonated ones I find have a lot more sugar in them and really sweet. The cartons taste much lighter flavour to me. I like them. So there's quite a few houses in there on the right. You pay a lot of money to build or buy a house in there. And this plantation owns all that farmland you just saw on both sides of the road. So there's a bridge here we're going over, so this is where the gully runs behind the house, or the original house. Down through there. Now we're going to leave St. Joseph. We're going into St. John now. Here on the left is Peg. That's a nature reserve and farm. They have free range animals and organic farming. You can actually go there and buy any of those things. There's also a little private school in there, open a couple of years now. It's actually owned by a friend of my wife. She's only young actually, she's only about 28. Started her own school in there. Now the house here on the left is Malvern Great House, named after Malvern College in England. I think the owner who had this place built went to Malvern. This is said to be the second oldest plantation house on the island, and it's still used today as a clinic offering complementary medicine. Hey guys, you don't want to be in a bus like that, in air conditioned and, you know. Nah, this is much more fun, isn't it? The sign tells you some of the treatments they work on in there. Now it's an early building, so the walls are made up of all different shaped stone, coral stone. After the 1800s they perfected cutting the coral into proper bricks to make the buildings and factories. You can actually see the stonework. If you see the stables coming up on the left, you see the all different shaped stone in the stables. 5 arches of the stables there. Now you see it would have been a wealthy family, because they had a 5-car garage. Oh. Now compare that to the old sugar factory on the right here. You can see the stones and the stone now. And the guy's renting this building for sheep. It's a sheep farm. There's lots of land down there. he does, he opens the door of the building and puts them in at night. During the day he lets them out.
Wow.
He's got electric fence around the building and the grass around this area, so they'll feed all around here. And here's the bridge in front of us that we're going over, see? Another gully running behind the house. Cassava there on the right, gluten free. Cook the roof of that growing. See, that's the bud. It'll keep growing, but you can see the caterpillars are in it. They come out, lay the eggs inside, come out, and they eat in the cotton plant.
Oh.
Wow. So they're staying all along here, look. Full of caterpillars, all this is eaten. It should be as thick as what you see in front of us. That's cotton up there. Over here has nice views and coastline, but the beaches are nice as well, but the water is rougher over here, and they don't recommend swimming on the east coast, I think. So that's probably why most holiday people would come down and not buy on this side either. We're heading north. Another thing to bear in mind, especially in St. John, St. Joseph and St. Andrew, is they have areas through here where there's a lot more sand and clay on top of the coral. So again, if you bought and build on this side, you want to make sure you get it checked properly so that you're not building near a river that's going to wash your house away in 10 years' time. Now, I had an Irishman on Jeep one year. He said that's not an English cannon, it's an Irish cannon. I said, how do you know? He said, well, look at the cannonball. It's too big to fit down that hole, so it's Irish. So I used that all the time, you know? He said it was okay.
Okay. Hormones.
C'est sa sécurité.
All this land here on the right, 10.5 acres I think it is. The people that bought this land built a house on top of the hill, nice view. They had a little farm shop next to it as well. I only saw them about 4 times. Now they put it out for sale. They had a wedding here one time. This is the cottage they built here on the hilltop. Now again, this is a big one though. This is going to take long to sell. Look, 10.5 acres with a cottage there on the hilltop, and they own both sides of the hill. They got planning permission, subdivided into 3 lots. But again, you see, that's going to take ages to sell because it's so big. They're not dividing it and selling it separately. They're trying to sell the whole thing in one hit. But nothing wrong with living out here though, I'll tell you. Save a lot of money. The yellow flower on the left here is called Christmas Candle. That's the one that changes the yellow flower for November for over the Christmas period. Now the cliff we're at is just above us up there. Now that cliff was called Hackleton's Cliff. I forgot to take that bit. It's named after Hackleton, who was a wealthy merchant and farmer. Liked to gamble too much. One day he gambled his land against his neighbour and lost the bet. He said he was so devastated, he jumped on his horse and rode it off the cliff. He lost his fortune. Yeah, morning. Well, this side is not the best farmland, of course, so you won't have a lot of water in some places, very hilly and sandy. But some farmers will still thrive. Now the old steam train used to run along here, stayed low on the coast road. They couldn't climb hills very good. To visit these plantations and the old hotels that you see down here as well. Now if you check out all these coconut trees around us, these are all male coconut trees. How do you tell a male coconut tree? Well, it has a straight trunk and a big nut. There's one female coconut tree on this road. How do you tell a female coconut tree? You're probably wondering now. There you go. Look in front of us. The last one on the left there. Look up the trunk. See the curves? That's a female. They reckon there's only 2 of those on the island like that. There are 2 girls and all the rest of men. Don't ask me if that's true, right guys, because I'm your tour guide, I can't lie. Here on the right with the yellow flowers and the blue flowers, this is Andromeda Gardens, a botanical garden started by a lady called Iris Mannicky. Now she used to enter the big flower show in England, the Chelsea Flower Show, opened by the Queen. And she won lots of medals at the show, 160. Cheap, eh? On the left is the men's.
Mushroom. They call it the mushroom rock. Mushroom Rock.
C'est beau, hein? Hein? C'est vraiment beau ici. Puis là, en arrière ici, il y a des roches aussi. Hein? Ah, on peut pas dire que c'est pas beau la Barbade. Ouais. La mer qu'on voit cuisiner dans sa cuisine. La mer. Ouais, une dernière tour d'horizon. C'est beau. Bon, on nous attend. On va aller à l'auto. Là, et ça glisse. Hein? Ouais? Ouais. Elle est super belle la roche. Okay.
Now, the lady owns this house here. She lives in the middle of the island. She only comes down here
On a weekend.
weekends and when she wants to feel like it.
Ah, yeah.
And that's hers. It left to her by her mum,
Il y avait des gens
so
spéciaux.
she got on the property. Sometimes she complains at us when we got like 20 jeeps out here and somebody parks in front of the gate. You can't park. The new thing coming out now, they want us people who are paying like in the mornings. They're going to try and get all the people to pay on their credit card. She said, but they won't get back the deposit though. I said, well, it depends why they cancel. If they cancel, because you got to cancel within 24 hours or something before the tour, then you'll get back your money. But if you cancel like the same morning of the tour, unless you can bring a doctor's certificate or something, I think they will say you lose your deposit. So I was like, well, the rep should collect in full, or if you phone up, they should collect it in full over the phone. The driver shouldn't have to deal with it at all, because it does waste a lot of time. So she was going to argue, but she wouldn't do it. She said, oh well, you know, that's how it works. And I'll sign both copies. That'd be quicker, innit? But she makes me wait while she then goes to the back room to get the second copy. And then wonder why I don't like waiting. Because like yesterday I went, and it was pouring with rain, so I had to go to the Jeep, roll the covers down for the guests so they don't get wet, and then I had to run back in the rain twice to get the receipt, because she hadn't printed it yet. And if you go to the licensing centre to register your car, you have to go and pay to register it, you have to pay for an inspection, Then you have to pay for a weigh certificate to get it weighed. But you can't get the weigh certificate until you pay for the inspection. So it means you've got to go in a long queue, about 30 people, queue up, pay for the first half, then you come back, go to the other side of another office to get a date for the inspection, and then you go back to the big queue, get back in the queue to get a weigh certificate. It's all run for back and forward. Instead of just doing it in one time in one desk. Now the primary schools, the lunches are subsidised by the government for the kids.
Oh,
So
wow.
the parents, I think, only pay $2.50 for lunch for a week. They got to pay the rest.
Wow.
When they move up to secondary school, though, they got to fend for themselves. Here's one of the old mini mokes coming out here in front of us. The hire car, but this is a new one. The company have just introduced them to the island. Now I'm not sure if they're electric or petrol though, because I saw an advert somewhere online saying the new mini mokes are out, electric mini mokes, so I couldn't hear if that one was quiet. Did you hear it? Was it quiet just went by? Not sure. But yeah, those mini mokes are like from back in the 70s. That's the hire car of choice for the Caribbean islands back then. Old mini chassis and engine with a new body put on them. People used to love those. That's the first company that's come back with them. I think they've got about 7 of them. But there is one guy who's got an original old mini moke and a Land Rover, and he does his own private tours in there. His Land Rover's done on like R vehicles, off-road vehicles, but he doesn't go off-roading, he just does a road tour. And then he does a mini moke when he's just got like a 3 or 4 people. You take them out in his boat. I'm not sure what he calls that one. Maybe a traditional Bayesian tour or something. Then we got a couple of the old antique buses, but they're not really antique. They're new chassis with old style bodies put on them, brand new. With the old bench seats inside, they do tours on those, and nighttime party tours where they drive around, play music and you dance whilst you drive around the island. You can't see where you're going because it's pitch dark, so they got those big ropes at the bottom that secure the sails, and they got a couple of strong men to drag it round to make it turn. So you can eventually build your own brick house, and you might sell your wood. Even wood is very expensive, and all the wood is imported as well, so it makes it even more expensive. You know, when I was in England, I bought a sheet of plywood for £10. One big sheet, that's about 6 foot by 4 foot, something like that. Sheet of plywood. That's $30. Well, it's less than $30 now. But a sheet of plywood in Barbados is about $99. Wow. So you see? So if you build a house from wood, it can be very expensive. The bricks are here on the left are actually made on the island. So people can try to buy bricks now rather than wood. Now we're in Cave Hill, St. Lucie. They call it that because there's lots of caves up there as well, and there's one that's 3 miles long. 7-day Adventist Church on the left. There's a coral left and right. The highest area up here in St. Lucie is that hill you see there to the left of us. That plateau which goes around the north for the island, over to the west side. We're going to go around that same rock face on the low road. Everything above us after that hill is pretty flat until you get to the cliffs, drop into the sea. Now these 2 big houses coming up in front of us on the left side, brown roof and grey roof. These are built by a couple of families who actually live and work abroad. These are their retirement homes. So now they're nearly finished. They come back every year on holiday, stay in those properties, and when they're ready to retire, the houses will be ready for them. Well, you find some people that actually go and work abroad for many, many years, you know, 30, 40 years, 50 years. And in the end, they might never come back. They say, oh, I'm quite happy staying here where I am. They may even start a new family over there, so they're not looking to come back. But sometimes they don't do anything with their land or their houses. When they left, the house might be, say, like this one here on the left. And the government was like said, these people have been away for 50 years, they haven't been paying their land tax. They actually owe the government money. We're short of houses for people to live in. Like even low-income families might be looking for a house to say. He said they were trying to sell it for $60,000, so they would get $30,000 each. Why not just drop it down to $40,000, get $20,000 each, and it might sell? That's what they should do. Now here we are. This is Little Bay, our last stop before we go to lunch. Look at that surf there, guys. There's a pool down there on the right that people like to go down to. Now, I don't want you guys going out there swimming, right? I'm not coming for you if you get in trouble because I can't swim very far.
My God. Incroyable. Wow. C'est fou. La mer est déchaînée. Wow. Voyez là ou non, mais ça existe sur la Terre. Je filme. Le vent est saignant.
Curly hair don't care.
Le vent est fort.
haut, là.
Yeah, I got the cream. I tagged you, but I still have a training afterwards.
Some more barley on the right. So we're on to a politician. A little fish market next to it.
Huh? A fish market.
Là, sur la partie de la main.
And this house here on the right, with all the hedge right there, as it belongs to the Terminator.
The Terminator. C'est pas c'est qui.
As we enter the gardens,
Ah, non,
House
c'est
of
pas
St.
Terminator.
James now.
Ben, c'est quand même beaucoup de routes qui est au nord, au complet, là, qui descend plus en bas.
Pourquoi la mer est calme?
C'est dans le côté Caraïbes. Non, je sais, mais c'est du côté.
Then here on the right
On
of
n'est
the
pas
Catholic
dit
Church.
qu'on est dans le Caraïbe, on est
Just
du
here,
côté des
St.
Caraïbes.
Francis. Again, right on the beachfront. Lone Star Hotel and Restaurant here on the right. Used to belong to a British actor back in the 60s. Now owned by Dave Whelan of the Wigan Football Club. Big Mall, Fairmont Royal Pavilion, 5 stars, hotel.
Regarde la vie.
Je vois rien.
And on the right, all this land here with the trees and the hedge belongs to Lord Cyril Bamford. He owns a company called JCB. He's had prime ministers and presidents staying there, and celebrities. From there right down to the beaches where it is. Left turn there takes you to the Royal Westmoreland Golf Club and Sugar Hill. Sugar Hill where Elton John and Cliff Richard have a house. Not together. And late Cilla Black was a neighbour of Cliff Richard up in there. park on the right,
Hey,
the
Miguel.
marine park, lifeguards,
Yes,
and play
Miguel.
areas. The church here on the right, St James's Parish Church. One of the oldest churches made of coral. 1629.
On est bien plus hot. On ne voit pas.
Now we're coming into Hull Town. Hull Town used to be the capital. Back then they called it Jamestown after King James I. They built a fort down here in 1625 to protect the early settlers.
C'est comme à Hawaï, hein,
Then they realized down here flooded pretty badly and swampy. So they decided to move the capital in 1628. The river is here on our right, Gun Bridge. Got Lime Grove, New Mall. Some very expensive shops in here. And then on the right we've got 1st and 2nd Street. They were the 1st, 2nd Street, the capital. Coming up on the right where the cannons is where they had the fort originally built. So this is the courthouse, police station, post office on the right. Little Chapel Village on the left. For 5 beachfront villas being sold off plan.
Ça va être beau, il n'y a pas de vague.
Every once in a while you get these cars parked here.
J'ai jamais entendu que le barbac...
Not really sure why they come down here. That's the sign there. Sunset, you would pay 1500 US a night to stay in
Non,
here.
ça c'est l'hôtel. Il y a Rihanna, sa maison, c'est dans ce coin-ci.
Then they got the Sandy Lane Golf Course all up here on the left side. Private houses all around the greens, golf course. Over here on the right, it's called One Sandy Lane. This is where Rihanna stays when she's on the island. $20
C'est ça.
million
C'est
unit
ça.
in
C'est
there.
ça sa maison.
9 units for
Oui,
sale.
ça c'est la maison de Rihanna. Oui. Je t'avais dit. Non, celui qu'on a passé déjà.